Victor, what exactly transpired on the ground of the protest? We hear that journalists were chased out. Was that by the thugs or members of the Take It Back movement?
Well, really, that might be difficult to expand, but what we did see was it was barely 15 to 20 minutes when that protest actually began. In fact, these guys were still trying to gather themselves in numbers, and then all of a sudden we just saw some guys just approached the protesters and told them to leave. You know, we thought it was a joke, but they told them to leave, and they started, you know, beating them up and fighting them. So we quickly had to take cover with the police, you know, to see what we can do, you know, to take some shots and all.
Okay, Victor, so sorry about that. Please hold that thought. We want to go back to Abuja because Omoyele Sowore is speaking, addressing the journalist, and we want to hear what he has to say.
Nigeria must be free. Nigeria must be free. Nigeria must be free. Nigeria must be free. Tinubu must go. Tinubu must go. Tinubu.
Okay, Nigerians are wondering, why have you hit the street in demonstration today? Tell us.
Today is the 7th year that we commenced revolution now in 2019, but I was arrested on August 3rd, 2019 before the protests took place, and now it did on August 5. So today is the commemoration of that remembrance, to remind Nigerians that we are going to have a revolution in this country. And without a revolution, Nigeria cannot make progress. And that is why we started from Beggar and we came all the way. Our goal was to go to the National Assembly, from there to Aso Rock. But you know, these enemies of themselves have put barricades here. But when the time comes, these ones will not matter.
You made a couple of demands. We would like to understand what these demands are. And on top of those demands, we understand that you have a personal one, that the charges leveled against you at the Federal High Court be dropped immediately.
Immediately, but that's not only our demand. That the DSS must be removed with immediate effect. That's Tosin Ajayi, for even daring to be violating the rights of Nigerians. The DSS is not his private property; it is Nigeria's property, you know, agency. And we are tired of foolish people managing our agencies. It's the same thing we did with the former IGP, Egbetokun. He's gone today. It is time to remind Tinubu to remove DSS before we would eventually come and deal with Tinubu himself.
But the sack of the DSS is not the only thing you are asking for.
We are telling you our demands. It includes also the release of Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
It includes the implementation of a 500,000 naira minimum wage immediately, without delay, and several other demands which we will make available to the press. But we believe that you have been monitoring our social media handles. You must have seen our demands. What we came to do today is to make sure we get here. Because they said we can't come here.
And we are here.
They even sponsor some Oceans to confront us on the way. We broke through their ranks. And some of us even joined us to this place. So that's where we are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So you just heard from the leader of the Take It Back movement, that is the person of Omoyele Sowore. He's saying that the DG of the DSS should be immediately removed by the president. Top of their demands is that the charges leveled against them should be immediately dropped against Sowore at the Federal High Court. Over to you in the studio.
Right there with the update on the Take It Back movement in Abuja. But still talking about the Take It Back movement, we just got word that Victor Mbadike, who was actually covering this, kind of received a punch or two. Victor, how are you feeling?
Well, while the Abuja folks, the comrades, the Sowore boys, had their way in Abuja. Those in Lagos did not have their way. They thought that they were going to have it easy as always, but the thugs just came up and then disrupted whatever they wanted to do. And we thought that the police was, going to, they are there to protect, protesters from being, beaten and stuff, and, but they just stood there, just watched, and all of that happened. In the course of chasing them away, of course, some journalists had to, run for their lives. And we thought that the thugs were not going to even touch the press, but later they came back for us, and then we had to run for our lives. At some point, these things happen in the field. And what we had to leave the scene immediately. But what is most important is that from what I saw so far, nobody at least got any serious injuries, but people had to run for their lives as quick as they could. And we also had to do the same thing as well.
So, I mean, we know that you had to leave the scene, but then are we hearing any word about the security operatives, restoring calming that area?
So, well, it was all peaceful in the first 15, 20 minutes when those guys gathered. There was no issue at all. We had police operatives just around that roundabout in Maryland. I mean, they were all everywhere. So you do not expect any skirmish of any kind to have taken place. But when the thugs came, I thought that they were going to stop them, but they did not. I know when thugs come around like that, it's going to be chaotic. And, people beating, pushed, slapped, and all. And they were just looking at them. So after about a couple of 3 minutes or so, they just fired, this tear gas. Although the tear gas does not really, it wasn't really pinching the eyes as much as I expected it to. But I think that was just to scare people away and chase everybody completely from that roundabout. The implication of that is that whatever protests they planned in Lagos failed woefully because the thugs kept saying, "We don't want you here. We do not want any." In fact, they kept on, doing some kind of roving around as far as Ojota to be sure that they didn't go back there to the group. So we could not even mount our equipment to do anything because they were everywhere, even at the funniest and comic places, corners. So to be sure that people were not taking shots. And those journalists who, decided to use their phones to take videos, their phones were snatched. I saw a cameraman chased, and so for us to be really, really careful, we quickly had to run back into our vehicle and just wait and see what happened next. But the truth is, everyone is gone in Maryland.
Okay, before we let you go, Victor, let's even talk about the planned protest in itself. And I did ask Joshua Marai the same question. What do you think re-triggered this protest? We know that Take It Back movement has been having protests over and over again, but this looks like a fresh trigger altogether.
Honestly, when I got there, that was the first thing I asked myself, what am I even doing here to start with? This looks like an unprovoked protest. So what exactly are you guys protesting about? And some of them, to be honest, don't even know why they're there. They are just, stammering. Like, what? So except for what was written on that paper, 500,000 minimum wage, end bad governance, Tinubu must go, and those things, like, really? Okay. So basically, just like you heard what the convener said, Sowore himself, it's just perhaps to mark an anniversary, just to prove a point that they are still very active. So much more like that, because basically, whatever they are protesting about, they've been doing that several times. So nothing new, nothing unique about the protest. It's just the fact that for instance, Sowore is saying that his cases in court should be squashed, and all of that. Basically, it's things we've seen over time, and nothing different, nothing new.
All right, Victor Mbadike, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a full brief of at least what you were able to capture at the protest ground in Lagos. Joshua Marai in Abuja is still there at the protest ground in Abuja and will be bringing us more updates as well.